Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. So I was on the forum probably a couple days ago, and someone started a thread. And the thread ended up morphing into the person asking me a specific question. And they were like, well, Shad, in the event that maybe TVD doesn't play up to par, we don't add a transfer portal quarterback, or TVD gets hurt, are you confident in Jacurri Brown? And I said, yeah, I'm very confident in Jacurri Brown. And the whole explanation that I wanted to give, it wouldn't have been, I don't think it would have had the same effect if I tried to sit there and write everything down. So I'm giving it to you in video form to kind of drive home my particular answer. Now, I want to go back. I've told y'all on previous videos I didn't necessarily follow recruiting and stuff like that. I would always lean on opinions that other people had, and then I would draw my ultimate opinion once the player gets on the field. And so prior to Jacurri Brown getting on the field, or even prior to Jacurri Brown getting on campus, the saying was that, well, he has a lot of work to do as a passer. And so I just kind of left it at that. And so as I watched Jacurri play and things of that particular nature, I said, okay, I do see some things that he can improve on as a passer. But some of the comments that were being made was like, it was almost as if the young man had never thrown a football a day in his life. You know, just some of the things that I saw. And so one of the things that I did really see that made me want to really just talk about this was that some people said, well, man, you know, if it was a situation, and this was towards the end of last year, man, if we go into next year, man, with Jacurri Brown at quarterback, man, we're looking at 5-7, 6-6 at best, maybe even 4-8. And I said, no, I've seen this movie before. And I started thinking about some quarterbacks, some guys that I watched, you know, just throughout college football that have some of the same types of, you know, characteristics and traits that Jacurri has, as far as not necessarily being the absolute best passer. And I'm not even going to name some guys that we look at as all-time greats. I'm not going to look at Vince Young, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow. I'm not going to look at those type of guys. I'm going to look at some guys that some people may have forgotten about. Some people may say, oh, yeah, I do remember that, to try to drive this particular point home. So I'm going to start with Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond is a relatively recent quarterback that we saw, quarterback for Texas A&M. Not as tall as Jacurri. Probably not as big as Jacurri is going to get. But from a standpoint, he did have some instances in which he probably could have played better. But at no point did I think that Texas A&M was in any fear of losing or only winning 5 or 6 games. Now, some people may say, well, you know, Jimbo has done a good job of trying to put talent around him, and there was some talent around him, you know, when Jimbo got there. And sure, that can be the case, but one of the things that I'm really focusing on is the improvement along our particular offensive line, and I think that will help Jacurri or any quarterback that we have tremendously. But since we're focusing on Jacurri, we'll talk about Jacurri, right? So another quarterback that comes to mind, Darren Thomas. Darren Thomas, quarterback of the Oregon Ducks, helped lead the Oregon Ducks to a national championship berth against Cam Newton in the 2010 national championship game. They didn't win that game, but Darren Thomas was actually the same size as Jacurri Brown. He was 6'4", 215. What did he struggle with? Struggled with accuracy. But the young man, over his junior and his senior year, threw for over 30 touchdowns. At no point did I feel like Chip Kelly looked at Darren Thomas as anything of a liability in the passing game. All they did was go play for a national championship. All right, moving on. Another quarterback, Trevon Boykin. Trevon Boykin, quarterback for TCU Horned Frogs. Not recently, but this was in the 2015 season or 2014 season. The season in which Baylor was left out of the national championship, well, left out of the playoff, and Ohio State was elevated, even though Ohio State did not win their conference. Trevon Boykin had a fantastic year. Again, another guy struggling with accuracy, but threw for over 30 touchdowns. Now, what I've done is I've named a guy that played on some good talent, good to great talent, depending on how you gauge that, I looked at a guy that played with the talent that I think we currently have right now. And then Teron Boykin, I could say that TCU team from a particular standpoint, from a talent standpoint, probably is as talented as we are now. And in neither one of those particular situations do I feel like the quarterback held them back. Now, going to one of my all-time favorite college football players of all time, Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor was not a guy that was going to wow you with his, throwing ability. And Terrell Pryor probably is a little bit faster than Jacurri, maybe a lot faster than Jacurri Brown, but similar build, similar makeup. But I think Jacurri Brown is a little bit more established as a passer than Terrell Pryor was. But did that stop Terrell Pryor and the Ohio State Buckeyes from winning multiple games? No, it did not. So, and I could go to probably the absolute worst example that I could go to, because this particular example would not be an example that we would want to have. But Jordan Jefferson, LSU quarterback. Jordan Jefferson was very instrumental in LSU defeating Alabama during the regular season, and then also was a integral part for LSU losing to Alabama in the national championship game. And then my last example, Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall went to the University of Georgia as a defensive back. Got into some trouble. Next time we see Nick Marshall is lined up on the offensive side of the ball. Not at receiver, not at running back, but at quarterback. He's lined up at quarterback. And what did Nick Marshall do? Oh, Nick Marshall didn't do nothing but help lead the Auburn Tigers to a national championship berth against the Florida State Seminoles. So, now, of course, you could go find some examples of some guys where, hey, it didn't work like that. It failed. I'm sure you can. But I just want to hammer home that this mindset of, and again, all these guys that I named, I don't feel like Jacurri takes a step back to any of them in the passing department. As a matter of fact, I think Jacurri is a better passer than some of them. I would think he's a better passer than Terrell Pryor. I would probably think he was somewhat maybe even with Kellen Mond. Obviously a better passer than Jordan Jefferson. I think he's a better passer than Nick Marshall. I think he may be somewhat behind Darren Thomas, but Darren Thomas wasn't just a lighted up type of passer. It was just the type of unique offense that they ran that allowed for him to make some easy completions. So in the event that, I don't even want to say his name, but if he's not retained and someone is brought in that has a ability to assess this, and again, this is just a scenario just in case something doesn't work out with Van Dimes. Obviously, I hope Van Dimes worked out, but I've said it and I say it again. I want this to be a completely an open competition. I don't want any preconceived notions that, hey, well, we kind of want to go this guy. Like, no. Roll the ball out there like we do on a basketball court and may the best man win, right? So, but that's just my assessment of the particular situation. Again, I have full trust and confidence in Jacurri Brown that if there was something to happen or if he was actually able to win the quarterback battle, I have no question that he has what it takes to get us to that particular place that we want to be. Now, I'm not saying we're looking for a top 4 playoff berth, but I'm not looking at a situation where he becomes a liability and puts us in a situation where offensively we're not able to move the ball and we only are the offense is the reason that we can't win. I feel like complementary defense along with an improved offensive line and the abilities that he has, in an ideal situation, we're looking at a guy that could, at the bare minimum, get us to 8, maybe even 9 wins, right? That's just bare minimum. But that's just me. But as always, man, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, it's always about the you.